Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot, and welcome to the Barnsley Round-Up video. Alright, so you know the drill. Just in the same way as Rotherham, we're going to go through all 17 parishes of Barnsley in alphabetical order and see what you lovely people of Barnsley have sent me. But there's some good stuff in here, so without further ado, let's get started. Okay, beginning with Billingley then. I only really got one comment for this, but it's something I already knew. I thought it best to include it in this though, because it's going to be a while before the Doncaster Roundup video comes, so I'll mention it now. If you remember in the Barnborough and Harlington video in the Doncaster series, I mentioned the story of the cat and the man. Now the comment I got actually refers to this because the cat, or the lion or whatever it was that was supposedly in that tale, resided in Billingley. That's why Cat Hill Roundabout is called Cat Hill Roundabout. Okay, next up is Cawthorne. I have two things for this. One of them is a mistake in the video. In the video I refer to a newsagent as being called Harry's. Obviously I need to get my eyes tested because it's called Hillary's. I checked that with Google Maps as well. It is indeed called Hillary's. That's just a complete mistake on my part. It's Hillary's, not Harry's. The other thing is to do with the church. This isn't a mistake, it's actually something, a really nice bit of information. It's to do with the actual body of the church. There's the remains of a Saxon cross which is built into the church itself on the eastern side. That's really good to know. Thank you very much for that one. Right, next up is Dunford. I got quite a lot for this, so I don't really know where to start with all these comments, so hopefully hopefully I can put this into some kind of semblance of order. So first of all, the Stanhope Arms, which is that little pub restaurant thing that I feature somewhere near the station, apparently that used to be a very popular foodie pub. The railway station which was there wasn't in operation in living memory. There were 3 woodhead tunnels, and I believe the tunnel in Thurgoland was one of those 3. So with regards to Winscar Reservoir, it's obviously a very popular place for walkers and hikers. There's a picnic area at the other end. I was on the north-eastern side of the reservoir, so this comment must refer to the other side, that's the southwestern side. There's a picnic area on the other side, and you can reach that from Dunford Bridge. That would make sense actually. Now Carlycoats is pronounced Carlycoats, as in C-A-R-L-Y-C-O-T-E-S. It's pronounced like that apparently. So yeah, that was pretty much it for Dunford. Let's move on. Next up is Great Houghton. If you can remember back that far, it was one of the very first ones I did in Barnsley. So one thing I missed in the video was the old hall, and I also missed Sandhill Primary School. The route I took around Great Houghton was fairly circular. I tried not to miss anything if I could, but I can never get everything. So I'm glad that these people are pointing out landmarks that I didn't necessarily get to. So they've got the old hall and Sandhill Primary School. That's apparently down Durn Street, tucked away from the main road. There's also a small local doctor's surgery just behind where the petrol station is. Now the desolate land on School Street, which I used as my Ask the Locals thing in that video, that used to be a church school, which is why the street it's located on is called School Street. And the field behind that is now a park. That was the school field. It closed in the early 90s. This commenter says maybe 1990, and it moved down to the council school, which is the bottom of the village. Alright, for Gunthwaite and Birchworth. The first thing I want to mention about Gunthwaite and Birchworth is the pronunciation of Birchworth. Now, at the beginning of the video, I pronounced it Birchworth. By the end of it, I'm pronouncing it the correct way, which is Birchworth. I've had that confirmed by somebody that that's the correct pronunciation of the word, so that's fantastic. Now, with regards to the village itself, so the fountain is also known sometimes as the Rag, and it's not going to be demolished. Barnsley Council apparently blocked the demolition of the Fountains Inn, and it's going to be a pub again, so it's going to be refurbished and reopened as a pub. So also in that video, I used my TVI Ask the Locals segment on that little park at the very end of the video. and that area is apparently known as the Sandbeds, and that connects the two reservoirs in the parish. I have to give a shout out to a man called Jack Briggs, who owns Penistone Pictorial, and it's basically what the name says on the tin. It's basically a website about Penistone and the whole Penistone area, and pictures of the area. It's a good website. I will link it in the description. Now, Jack says, with regards in Birchworth and Gunthwaite in particular here, something I missed was Gunthwaite Spa, which is a trickle of sulphurous water, which is the centre of an annual tradition in the area called Spaw Sunday, spelled S-P-A-W, on the first Sunday of May. And Penistone Pictorial has a section on Spaw Sunday. So, like I say, I will link that in the description. Go and have a read of it. Okay, moving on to High Hoyland. I didn't get any information about this, so we can move straight on to Hunshelf. Moving on to Hunshelf. Now, overwhelmingly, people, unsurprisingly, were a little bit disappointed that I couldn't see much of anything off the top of the Isle of Skye, which I was disappointed too. I mean, I can't predict the weather, as I'm sure you can understand, but yeah, it would have been nice to see a decent view off the top of the Isle of Skye. Apparently, you can see Lincoln Spire from up there. Now, I assume this commenter means Lincoln Cathedral. It would make sense because it certainly seems to be high enough and it is pointing in the right direction to be facing towards Lincoln, so that would make sense, but I'll have to clarify that with the commenter, because as far as I'm aware, Lincoln Spire, that's not really a thing, and I'm a Lincoln born and bred guy. I've never heard it called that before, but I believe that you can see the cathedral from the top of the Isle of Skye. So the boundaries of Hunshelf Parish used to be different. That once upon a time, according to this commenter, they came all the way down the valley to include Hunshelf Bank, to where Samuel's Kitchen stands on Hunshelf Road, which is now part of Stocksbridge, and once called Hunshelf Bottom. This is where the original Stocks Bridge was built. Now, we haven't done Stocksbridge yet because that's in Sheffield. Obviously, I will cover this when we get to it. So the Stocks Bridge was built and it forded the Little Don River to Waldershelf, and that's why Ford Lane down there has the name it has. Right, moving on to Langsett. I got 3 comments for this. First of all, the cafe. In the video, I stupidly misname it. I call it Bank End Cafe. It's actually the Bank View Cafe, so apologies to anybody that knows it as its proper name. I'm very sorry I call it Bank End Cafe. I think it's too long spent in Worsborough on Bank End Road, I think. Apparently that cafe is very dog friendly. It's always a good thing, because it's popular with walkers around there, as you could probably imagine, with the reservoir being so close. And the only other thing that I got to do with Langsett is actually involves the Dog and Partridge. Now, at the Dog and Partridge, you sometimes see a helicopter parked there, and I have actually seen it myself. The Dog and Partridge provides a space for the helicopter because that helicopter is used for transporting peat across the moors. Moving on to Little Houghton, the very first Barnsley video I did. I only really got 1 comment for this, and this was to do with the Buttercross, which used to be on the other side of the road, where the entrance to the Durham Valley Colliery was. That's basically the only comment I got for Little Houghton. Now, an immensely popular video was Oxspring. Everybody seemed to like it. Now, I have to admit, when I filmed the Oxspring video, I wasn't very confident about it. I didn't think it was going to do very well. I thought it was going to be one of those that just goes up in the series, people can watch it if they want, and it's not going to really do much. How wrong I was. Everyone seemed to like it, and I don't understand why. But there we go. That's just how the cookie crumbles at times, I suppose. I got 2 comments about this. Firstly, the Travellers Inn at 4 Lane Ends. I didn't cover that. It's just basically another pub, which is, if you look at where I started the video at Bowerdell, if you were to go over the bridge and up the other way, instead of walking up the hill and walking effectively down the hill and up the other hill, if that makes any sense, that will take you to 4 Lane Ends, and there's a pub there called the Travellers Inn. The other comment I got was something to do with Willow Bridge, which is a Grade 2 listed packhorse bridge which crosses the River Don. Obviously I didn't know a thing about that, so that's why we have these roundup videos, so thank you very much for that. I will try, before I upload this video, to find maybe a picture of Willow Bridge, and if I can, it'll be in the video at this point somewhere. You may even be looking at it right now. Right, Penistone. I have a full page of comments about Penistone, which I expected. Massive town, massive, well, massive parish. Not a massive town in comparison to some others, but certainly a massive parish with town status. The only one in Barnsley with town status. Right, okay, so first of all, I found one of the notice boards, as you could see in the video, up the little alleyway after the market. There are two others. This again is according to Jack Briggs, who sent me this. There's one on the community centre on Church Street, and there's also a little one at the upper end of the town hall building. So for those who are interested in that, there are two others there. There's something called the tank ramp, and I can't tell you what that is, but someone said I missed something called the tank ramp. I'll do a bit of research into this and I'll see if I can find what that is. And apparently there's a railway turntable as well, which I didn't see. So Penistone certainly has a lot to offer from what I can tell. So someone commented about Hoylands Way in here. It's also got a church and a primary school, and there's another boundary stone on South Lane towards Cawthorne. Also in the Penistone video was Thurgoland. Now I didn't really have a lot of time when I was in Thurgoland because my battery was running out on the camera and I still had to film Hoylands Way, which is why I didn't really film a lot of Thurgoland. So one thing I definitely did miss in Thurgoland was all the amazing weavers' houses. So obviously, if I can find pictures, I'll put them in the video at this point. Also in Thurgoland, apparently there was a chicken factory at the end of Hoyle Mill Lane, which smelled vile, according to this commenter. I can sympathise with you there, because where I grew up there was a poultry farm. And it's not a nice smell. Something else I didn't include in the Penistone video was Springvale. Now, Cubley is like a residential suburb of Penistone, but there's also another one which is called Springvale, which has its own school, its own church, shops, etc. I opted to include Cubley instead because of Cubley Hall, but yeah, there is an area of Penistone called Springvale which has a lot more, so yeah, with hindsight I probably should have included Springvale. But on the whole, people did enjoy that Penistone video, and I was happy with it, considering it was the first one that had topped 30 minutes on the channel. So yeah, really happy with it myself, and I think a lot of people were too. Right, the next one's Shafton, and I've got absolutely no information from anybody about Shafton. So yeah, time to move on. Okay, Silkstone. Now this was another very popular video, and once again I've got quite a lot of comments about it. So Silkstone Cross is where we're going to start. There used to be a garage there. It used to be called Silkstone Cross Motor Company. My TVI Ask the Locals segment in the Silkstone video was that old property that looked like a chapel. I was right, it was indeed a chapel. This commenter says, the building you thought was a chapel is indeed a chapel. It was the Silkstone Primitive Methodist Chapel, sometimes called Bethel. It was built in 1877. It remained open from 1877 until 1954, when it closed for worship. Sometime later it was sold to Tom Horsfield. That's the name you can see on the building itself. And he's the guy now who owns Pothouse Hamlet. It's funny how it's all linked together, isn't it? And some stories regarding the chapel as well. There was another commenter who said there used to be a story about the ghost of a bride and a groom in there who died when the roof collapsed, and at midnight apparently you can hear the organ playing. And Silkstone Common, I got something for this as well. I'm sure you'll remember the tunnel, the very low tunnel that I nearly hit my head on. That's got a name. Apparently it's called the Monkey Tunnel. There's a couple of theories as to why it's called the Monkey Tunnel. Some people thought it was maybe because of it was used by monks, possibly. but also, and I think this is the more plausible theory, because you have to bend down to go under it if you're very tall, you end up looking like a monkey with your arms out like this. That, to me, is the more sort of plausible theory. I don't know, but it's called the Monkey Tunnel. That's basically what it's known as. Alright, moving on to Stainborough. I got nothing for this. I'm surprised actually I didn't get anything for Stainborough. I thought I may have done. Thought I might have got something on Wentworth Castle, but nothing for Stainborough. Moving on to Tankersley. Now, there's a misspelling in the video, first of all. That's the word deceivingly on one of the shots. Obviously I can't spell it. But to the village itself. So I missed something called the Iron Beacon, which is in Pilly Pocket Park. Apparently Pilly, amongst its population, has a very famous resident. Her name is Crystal Waterhouse. Apparently she is a horse stunt rider, gymnast and circus artist, and has won many awards according to her mother, British gold medal, European gold medal, and a silver world medalist. Now, the only bit of information I got for Thurgoland was to do with the TV I asked the locals section, and that's the abandoned house. Now, the house, according to this commenter, used to be a farmhouse, and it can't be developed because of the bats that it has in it. The comment basically reads, "It used to be a farmhouse. I may be wrong, but developers can't touch the property as it houses bats. It had a few surveyors come at night and count the bats over the past few years." Bats are a protected species, so that actually doesn't surprise me. But yeah, they can't obviously do anything with the house until they can safely make sure that the bats are not disturbed. And finally in Barnsley is Wortley. Okay, so there were two businesses in Wortley that I couldn't go to. They were the Countess Tea Rooms and the Wortley Vintage Rooms. They were both closed due to COVID at the time. Also with Wortley, there's the tale of the Wortley Dragon, which I will link you to in the description. It basically tells of the story of a local knight, Moore of Moore Hall, who killed a dragon that lived in the caves in the Warncliffe area where Wortley stands. So there's a website I will link you to in the description so you can read about that. It's a local legend that I knew nothing about. And also the vaccine for smallpox can be traced back to the Wortley family, thanks to Mary Wortley Montague, who successfully vaccinated her daughter in the 1500s, which paved the way for people to develop the smallpox vaccine, which is why we don't have it now. And that's just about it. That's the 17 parishes of Barnsley covered in the Barnsley Round-Up video. So Barnsley is officially finished. So let's move on to our next one. So the next Roundup video coming soon will probably be Doncaster, because I'm very close to finishing that now. And then yeah, we can start somewhere else in the country. It's such a fantastic time at the moment for me, being able to get out and get to some more places. It's great. I'm enjoying every minute of it. So yeah, that's been the Barnsley Roundup video. I've been the Village Idiot, and I am out.